Hi everyone, this is Kona and we're going to be talking about quiz settings. So first of all, to access your quizzes, you can either look under your assignment tab, your quizzes tab over here, or modules if you've added the quiz to a module. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and go into modules and I'm going to click on the quiz that I'd like to edit. So I'm going to click on the name of the quiz. And here you can see that first of all the quiz is unpublished and that there's no real settings adjusted. So there are some defaults but nothing that has actually been figured out or set appropriately. The biggest thing I would say is to go ahead and if it says this quiz is unpublished, go ahead and publish it. Now the reason for that is that it won't show up actually in your assignments, which is kind of where you set your gradebook up, until you publish it. It's also not going to be visible to your students. The second thing is that when you go to publish your overall course, that does not publish your quizzes. So you do have to publish your individual quizzes, which is why I say just go ahead and publish it now. As long as you set a available and due date and all of that, your students still won't be able to see it anyway. So just go ahead and I say publish. But for now, we're going to go ahead. You've got your edit, and then you also have over here where you can add a rubric. You can preview your quiz, or you can delete it if you don't like it. So show rubric would be if you wanted to add a rubric. You can preview your quiz or delete it. But for now, we're going to go ahead and edit our settings. So the first thing is when you're editing your settings, these are the settings. We'll talk about the questions tab in a different video, but for the settings, you would add your directions. So add directions about quiz here. You could then pick your quiz type. Graded quiz is what most of you will be using, but there is a practice quiz which doesn't get graded, an ungraded survey, which there are no right or wrong answers, but you can give the students points for just completing it, and an ungraded survey where once again there's no right or wrong answers, but the students get credit for doing it. But most of you will probably be doing graded quiz, which is what I'm doing. Assignment group. Now, take into mind, all of you are going to have different types of assignment groups. These are actually what you create, so you actually say, most people might have discussions, quizzes, homework, those types of things. Those are your groups that you create in your grade book. That's going to be what's showing up here. So for me, I've got practice quizzes, which is where I want this to fall into. You then have some options. So shuffle answers. Shuffle answers means that instead of A, B, C, D are going to always be A, B, C, D, it will actually shuffle those answers around. A might end up being D, D might be C. That's what shuffle answers is. A time limit, most of you will want a time limit. So let's say we're going to make this 30 minutes. Allow multiple attempts. If you wanted to allow the students to have multiple attempts, first of all, you would pick that you want to hit the highest or the most recent attempt. So I'm going to leave it as highest. And how many allowed attempts? I'm going to say 3 attempts. Many of you won't allow multiple attempts, so you could also uncheck that and then it all goes away. Let students see their quiz responses. You can always not check that box and then say when you are ready for students to see their quizzes, or you can check it and then go ahead and let the students see it once they're finished. You can also choose whether you want to show which answers were correct. So see their quizzes response. I do want students to be able to see what answer was correct or wasn't. You can restrict the quiz, require an access code or a filter IP address. I know some instructors use this if they're going to send their students to the testing center. So this is where you would have an access code and you would actually set up what the code word you would want to be for the students to be able to take it. But for now, I'm going to uncheck those boxes. Then you also have the option to show one question at a time. If you do one question at a time, you then have the option to lock questions after answering. So what that means, if you check that box, is not only will the students see one question at a time, but they also will not be able to backtrack. They will not be able to go back and look at their questions after they answer it. So if you want that, go ahead and check it. Otherwise, you can uncheck them. Now you can go ahead and set your due date. So I'm going to go ahead and say my due date's the 22nd, and I want it to be available from the 18th until over here on the 22nd. So that's great, you're all set up. But what if you have 2 different sections of the same course combined in Canvas? So for example here, I've got a Math 113.01 and a Math 013.02 section combined into this one course. Well, my one section is actually a Monday, Wednesday, Friday course, where the O2 section is a Tuesday-Thursday class. So what you can do is actually set the due dates per section. So here I'm going to go ahead and leave it as Math 113.01 because this due date here is on a Friday, so that's appropriate. But I'm going to go ahead and add a due date and say Math 113.02, which is the Tuesday-Thursday, and that one's going to be due on the 21st. I'll still go ahead and make it available starting the 18th, and then I will come over and say that this one is due on the 21st. So that's the close date. You can also, if you decide you don't want to use the two different sections, if you just want everyone to have the same due date, you can actually get rid of, so you can X and get rid of a section and go back to everyone. So those are the ways that you can set it up. I'm going to go ahead and leave it for now and click Save. So it says does not have a due date. Do you want to go back? Nope, no due date. So go ahead. And there we go. So you can see your directions, how many points. Oh, I haven't added points. You know why your points aren't showing up? Because there aren't any questions yet, which we'll show you how to add questions later, and that's where you actually set your points. But you have your assignment group, shuffle answers. You can actually see all of your settings right here, when your due dates are. If something's not right, you can always come back up here and edit. And then remember, you always have show rubric, preview, and the delete button up here. But for now, that's pretty much everything, and we'll show you some of the other features of adding questions and how you can change that number of points when you add your questions in an additional video.